Okay, before we get into this video, I want to say, you know, Merry Christmas to everybody. Merry Christmas was last week. It's New Year's Eve. You know, Happy New Year to everybody that's watching, listening, tuned in, and vibing with me and everything. But I will say this also. We are close to almost 4,000 subscribers. I'm about 250 subscribers away from that goal. And shout out to everybody that tuned in, that's vibing, that's subscribed. If you're not subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button and that like button. Let's let this channel continue to grow. Continue to grow. And again, I appreciate everybody. Happy New Year. Now let's get into this video. So the New York Giants just lost to the LA Rams in a game that the New York Giants should have won. Should have won. First of all, the game was very entertaining. Very entertaining game. We got to see the New York Giants probably play the best, maybe the best offense we've seen in a long time as far as running game, passing game, Saquon Barkley making plays, Tyrod Taylor making plays, receivers making plays. What I'm upset about is not only did we have a chance to win the game, we also had a chance to tie the game. We decided to go for 2 instead of 1, which is understandable and probably the right thing to do, especially when you got a season the way that you're having. And when you have the right play dialed up for the 2-point conversion, because it was absolutely the right play dialed up. You know, Saquon Barkley out into the flat, wide open. It was so wide open, Tyrod Taylor could have ran it in himself. He decides to try to dump it off to Saquon Barkley. He is 4 or 5 yards behind. Not 4 or 5 yards, but just the way it felt. The way it felt was ridiculous. There's no reason that you should miss a play like that, man. It's ridiculous. I can imagine how it felt in the stadium. The air was probably let out. Like, man, it was just awful. And there was a couple of plays in this game that were like that. A bunch of misses, a bunch of big drops, a bunch of plays getting called back because of flags, a deep pass to Hyatt called back because of a hold. Man, it was New York Giants football. That's what it was. It was New York Giants football. That wraps up the New York Giants in a nutshell. This game is a true example of what the New York Giants are. You know, it's a roller coaster throughout. It's a little bit of hope and then let down at the end. That's what the New York Giants have been. You know, it's you hold on to hope, you make some good plays, you have some bad plays, and ultimately when you think you got a chance to come off with a victory, you let down in the end. And this is the perfect example of this game. Now, there's some plays in this game where, you know, you wish that the refs didn't affect the game as much. I've been doing a lot of crying about refs the last couple of weeks, even not for the New York Giants. I put out a tweet yesterday about Detroit supposedly not checking in. He absolutely checked in, and just put a tweet out there. I said the game is entertaining, but that's, you know, he did check in, and people are killing me. Oh, well, this, that, and the third, but whatever, that man checked in. I don't care what anybody says. You don't run over to the ref and say something to the ref as a lineman if that's not checking in. I don't know what checking in is. But anyway, back to this game. Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley had probably some of the biggest drops in this game. Tyrod Taylor, some bad passes in this game. But when you look at the plays that were made, it was entertaining. It was exciting. That deep pass to Darius Slayton, fantastic play, something that we needed. We got our first a special teams return for a touchdown in like 7 years. The last person to return a kick or a punt for the New York Giants was Dwayne Harris. I believe it was 2017, 2018 It was a long time ago, and Gunner did that today. So shout out to Gunner. And I'm just sitting here like, you know what? Once that happened, I'm like, yo, the New York Giants are winning this game. We should win this game. That's what I'm thinking. You know, and like the GIF, whatever. Just like every time I think I'm out, they pull me back in, and that's what this game did to me, especially this fourth quarter. This fourth quarter, I'm like, okay, when Kyren Williams got the last touchdown, I'm like, man, there we go. There it is. That's the game. We held on long enough, just couldn't do it. And the next thing you know, Gunnar Olszewski for the freaking return. And it's just like, yeah, I got pulled back into the game. And then the defense gets the big sack on third down. Simmons comes in untouched. They got to punt the ball, and we got a chance to make something happen. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, too, that made me upset. Once we stopped them, they had to punt the ball. We had the ball I think we got the ball with like 1:17 left, right? We had the big drop by Saquon Barkley on like the running back slant. Big drop by Saquon Barkley. Hit him in the breadbasket. That's probably even a touchdown, depending on what kind of coverage they were in. And then you get the big scramble. By Tyrod Taylor for the first down. Gets you into field goal range with about 40-something seconds left, or 38 seconds left, right? We spike the ball, and then on second down, instead of trying to go for the victory and win the game, instead of doing that, instead of settling for a field goal, instead of trying to win the game, I should say, we were settling for the field goal. On second down, we give the ball to Saquon Barkley. We lose yards. And I'm sitting here like, that's not a real play. That's not what teams do when they're trying to actually win a game. Not trying to be safe and kick the field goal. There was enough time on the clock for you to get a completion and spike the ball again. You had enough time to do that. That wasn't a real play. You hand the ball off to Barkley and you lose yards. The Rams have been giving up the middle of the field the whole game. And that's your decision on second down. And then you march out Mason Crosby's old ass for a 54-yarder. And I'm sitting here like, you know what? I'm in the spaces at the time. I'm like, we gotta mute the room for this one. And I'm sitting there, and in my mind, I'm like, this old man ain't making this 50-yarder. He's not making this 50-yarder. No way. In MetLife, in December, almost January, with the wind whipping most likely a little bit, and they've been kicking bad the whole game. Extra points being missed. I'm like, we're going to depend on Mason Crosby to kick us into victory instead of trying to do a real play. And that decision making goes on the decision maker. Like, we can point the fingers in a lot of different directions. A lot of people can have the blame. Wink Martindale coached a hell of a game. So I am not putting any blame on Wink Martindale and what he did. I can't point at some players on the team like Adoree Jackson trying to go for the strip instead of just making a tackle for Puka, and Puka runs down the field for 60 yards. So you could point the finger to a lot of people, but Wink Martindale ain't one of them. He coached a hell of a game, and then also because I've been screaming my head off for 2 weeks, like, the New York Giants defense is good when we apply the pressure. The soft shell does not work, and we saw it today. Wink Martindale was pushing, adding the pressure throughout the whole game, except for the first drive. That first drive, we sat in that soft shell, and freaking Matt Stafford was dunking down the whole field for the touchdown. As soon as that happened, Wink Martindale switched things up and started applying the pressure. Dane Belton, shout out to Dane Belton for a good game. Turnovers, two interceptions today. When Pinnock went out, he stepped up and got his opportunity and did the best with his opportunity. Shout out to Dane Belton. Micah McFadden had a couple blown plays, missed a couple of tackles. Bobby Okereke, shout out to Bobby Okereke. 2-sack game. It was a quiet game for Tibbs, but Tibbs got some pressure. Azeez Ojulari, roller coaster game for him. Dexter Lawrence, strong game from Dexter Lawrence. The defensive front had a pretty good game. Dex, Nacho, Ashawn Robinson, those guys had a pretty good game. Even DJ Davison in spots, Jordan Riley in spots. That was a good rotation for those guys. But this is just one of those games where, of course, we're talking about draft position. So am I super upset about the game? No, I'm not super upset about the game, about us losing that game. I am mad about the way that we lost the game. But again, they ain't got to worry about the draft. Also, the guys played hard. They played for themselves. Nobody quit. The locker room seemed to be in it the whole time. But man, that's one of those games where you just shake your head, because if I had to point the finger at one play, it was a 2-point conversion. It was a 2-point conversion, and just Tyrod Taylor, you got to do something better than that. You got to do something better than that. You can't throw that ball behind Barkley. You got to lead him. Like, it's just ridiculous how horrible that throw was. You dialed up the right play. Kafka called the right play, perfectly ran, to the point where Saquon Barkley was a little bit in the muck. He couldn't even get a clean release at first. But they were trying to send the pressure so much, Tyrod's able to escape outside, and then you could have walked it in. First of all, Barkley could have turned around and been your lead blocker. You could have walked that in for the 2-point conversion. But you threw that ball so short. And Tyrod, come on, man. I can't wait to hear what he says at the podium, man. I can't wait to hear what he's. You know what? There's no excuse to it. There's no excuse to it, so I can't wait. But man, that's a game where you can really say that the Rams did not outplay us. I remember somebody saying in this, I forget where it was, talking about the Rams were in our weight class. Now, I don't believe that the Rams are in our weight class, or we're in the Rams weight class, but today we damn sure look like it. Today we played those guys all the way to the end, and showed that there's a little bit more fight to this New York Giants team than people think, than a lot of people expect to see from the New York Giants. So shout out to the New York Giants at the end of the day. The loss hurts. But if you're going to lose a game, I'd rather lose a game like that when you're actually in it all the way to the end, and just be like, come on. Yeah, come on. But yeah, so that's going to be the video. A quick recap of the New York Giants versus the Los Angeles Rams, 26-25, in a game that the New York Giants had. But it is what it is. But I want to thank everybody for vibing with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And from one Giants fan to another, this is Big Dash Knows, Big Blue Nation. Let's go.